Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're just giving folks a couple more minutes to join, but we'll be starting in a couple of minutes here. Thank you so much.
Mariana, I believe you're on mute.
Of course, I would be still on mute. Hi, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Mariana Diaz. I'm the HUD Grants Administrator at the City and County of Denver, and I want to welcome you all to the City and County of Denver's annual HUD Community Meeting. We will begin momentarily, but before we get started, just a few details. If you're having any technical issues, please put your questions in the Q&A box, and someone will try to assist you. This feature is available on the right-hand side of your screen. Additional support can be accessed on the Microsoft Teams support page using the link on the slide, which I'll be sharing in the Q&A. Closed captioning is also available in English, Arabic, Chinese, Hmong, Japanese, Korean, and Vietnamese. This can be accessed on the bottom right corner of your screen using the instructions detailed on the slide. Finally, the presentation will be recorded and made available on our website. Bienvenidos a todos a la reunión anual pública de HUD. Mi nombre es Mariana Díaz, soy la administradora de fondos de HUD para la ciudad y el condado de Denver. Vamos a empezar en unos momentos, pero primero quiero dejarles saber que la reunión está disponible en español. Para acceder a la reunión en español por Zoom, siga las instrucciones detalladas en la presentación. El enlace a la reunión también será compartida en el chat. Si tienen alguna dificultad o una pregunta, por favor, manden sus preguntas por el chat y yo trataré de ayudarlos. ¿Ok? Gracias.
Okay, let's get started. Hello and welcome. I'm Rachel King, Director of HUD Programs at the City and County of Denver. Our agenda today will cover 4 main topics. First, we will review our HUD-funded programs and the HUD annual planning process. Second, we will look at highlights from HUD in 2020. Third, we will discuss a new community engagement tool that we're using as part of our planning process, the annual Community Pulse Survey. Finally, we will share some available resources and have an opportunity for Q&A. HUD programs and planning process. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, provides state and local governments with several grant funds on an annual basis. Denver receives 4 main HUD grants as part of that allocation. Community Development Block Grants, or CDBG, Home Investment Partnerships Program, or HOME, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, or HOPWA, and the Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG. Together, these grants help Denver to fund a variety of services and projects focusing on housing, economic development, and neighborhood activities. As part of our requirements to receive these annual funds, Denver must complete several studies and plans and submit them to HUD. First, a 5-year strategic plan called the Consolidated Plan, or the CON plan, must be developed. As part of that plan, Denver evaluates housing and community development needs and then creates goals and priorities for the 5-year period to address those needs. Then, for each program year under the CON plan, Denver must also create an annual action plan to identify specific priorities and projects for that year. An annual report called the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, is also published for each program year. Denver uses a January through December program year for HUD, so an annual action plan and annual CAPER are published for each full calendar year of funding. Many public engagement tools and studies are also utilized to create and inform the 5-year CON plan and annual action plans. In particular, Denver must conduct a fair housing study called an Analysis of Impediments to Fair Housing Choice once every 5 years. This study reviews disparities in access to housing and economic opportunities for protected classes like race, religion, or disability. Denver completed its last analysis of impediments in 2019, and that information guides our current 2019 to 2023 CON plan and our current action plans. You may access any of these HUD documents at any time by visiting our website listed here. As mentioned, Denver uses a January through December program year for HUD. On this slide, you will see a visual representation of our tentative timeline for the 2021 HUD program year. It starts here in January with this meeting, where we share accomplishments from the previous year and look to you all for feedback on our upcoming year. Other important dates to note are primarily in March, where we will release the CAPER, our annual report, as well as our 2021 annual action plan for public comment. Please note we will also be doing another public meeting after the release of our draft 2021 action plan to gather community feedback on the draft before we submit it to HUD for approval. This meeting will likely occur sometime between March and June, based on when Denver receives its notice of funding from HUD. We will issue a public notice at least 2 weeks before that public meeting is held. Denver's 2019 to 2023 CON plan identified 7 strategic goals. They are listed here and represent a variety of priorities, including housing services, business and workforce development, neighborhood services, and various other development and special need activities. These strategic goals also guide the creation of each annual action plan. More information on these goals can be found in our CON plan available online. Okay, so as we have mentioned as part of this meeting, we are sharing various highlights from HUD-funded activities in 2020 in several program areas. We hope that these highlights will give all an idea of how HUD funds are working in our community. Specifically, we will be sharing highlights in the following program areas: neighborhood services, neighborhood development, housing services, business and economic development. This slide shows some key data points from our investments into neighborhood support activities in 2020. These activities were funded by the CDBG program and included two primary program areas: employment training services and small business technical assistance. Included in this data are details on leveraged dollars, numbers of business and individuals served, and jobs influenced. I particularly want to highlight the bottom right graphic, which shows that over half of the individuals served in our neighborhood programs were under 30% of Denver's area median income, which equals $30,000 annually for a family of 4. Also, please note that these figures, as well as the data on the next several slides, are not yet final for 2020. We are still pulling in final numbers from some of our programs. However, they do represent a majority of the programs that we funded. Our 2020 CAPER will include the final data when published. For our employment training programs, this shows track supports and outcomes from 2020, such as specific services provided and various programmatic measures. Included in this data are metrics such as job placement and retainment and industry certifications. Similarly, this slide shows various services provided and programmatic outcomes for our business technical assistance activities. Some of the tracked outcomes in this program area include whether the business increased their income, increased their employment count, and if a program participant opened a business.
For neighborhood development, CDBG funds can support projects such as neighborhood and public facilities, community centers, and infrastructure. Community ministry is an example of a public facility supported in 2020. Community ministry supports families in Southwest Denver to meet emergency needs. In 2020, we invested $200,000 of CDBG funds to assist community ministry in the acquisition of property at 1755 South Zunai Street. This facility is where they operate many of their programs as well as additional community events. Another neighborhood development project supported in 2020 with CDBG funds was the acquisition of a facility located at 1240 West Bayard Avenue. This facility will be used to provide youth-focused programming as well as community space for the Val Verde neighborhood. We anticipate to be issuing a request for proposal for service providers for this facility in the summer. Housing investments under HUD range from housing program services such as housing counseling and homeowner rehab programs to housing development projects for rent and for sale housing. In 2020, HUD investments in housing programs totaled over $5.4 million, serving over 14,000 households and individuals. On the development side, over $5.9 million in home funds were invested with the goal of creating 200 housing units. Two housing program service highlights are the Emergency Home Repair Program and the Tenant Landlord Counseling. The EHR program, led by Denver Urban Renewal Authority, or DURA, to whom the city provided CDBG funds in 2020 to address housing repairs that are necessary for low-income Denver homeowners to remain safely in their homes, served 47 individual households as of September 2020. Repairs varied anywhere from a roof repair to electrical updates and cost between $1,000 to $10,000. The Tenant Landlord Counseling Program, led by Brothers Redevelopment, LLC, and Colorado Affordable Legal Services, provided counseling and assisted in the resolution of disputes between tenants and landlords. As of November of 2020, these funds had helped to assist 3,000 unduplicated households.
Several HUD-funded housing development projects were also completed in 2020. A first example is the Urban Living Townhomes for Sale project by Northeast Denver Housing Center. Denver provided $315,000 in home funds to subsidize construction of a 9-unit townhome development, with sales restricted to households with incomes at or below 80% of the HUD area median income for 20 years. The property includes 6 2-bed, 1.5-bath units with attached garages and 3 3-bed, 2.5-bath units. The Elizabetta by Laridan Homes is another example of a housing development project completed in 2020, which provides rental housing and supportive services. Denver invested $1,820,000 in home funds to develop a 91-unit affordable housing apartment and disability services mixed-use development. Laridan Hall Society for Exceptional Children and Adults provides services to children and adults with intellectual, developmental, and other disabilities. The rental housing units accommodate tenants with incomes between 0 to 60% of Denver's area median income for 40 years.
In addition to neighborhood projects and housing investments, HUD funds also support economic development through activities like small business lending. The Beer Spa is an example of these economic development investments using CDBG funds. The Beer Spa is a high-tech day spa offering innovative wellness therapies that showcase the therapeutic benefits of water, hops, malted barley, and yeast. Denver provided an investment of $135,042 to the Beer Spa to finance working capital and furniture, fixtures, and equipment, or FF&E. The Beer Spa will create 4 new jobs as a result of these investments.
An additional economic development activity supported in 2020 is Buku West Bottling. West Community Economic Development Corporation, also known as Buku West, works towards promoting and supporting local entrepreneurs, small businesses, cultural organizations, and residents in the Westwood area. Denver provided $245,000 to Buku West to finance working capital and FF&E for the Buku West bottling facility. That facility supports emerging small business ventures, and Buku West will create 7 new jobs as a result of the investment. Finally, it's important to acknowledge several changes and additions made in 2020 to Denver's HUD programs in response to COVID-19. In 2020, Denver received additional funding from HUD to assist the community through the pandemic crisis. Some of these funds provided additional business support to small businesses impacted by COVID-19. Specifically, $120,000 in CDBG CV funds, which are specific dollars for COVID activities, was invested to provide technical assistance to 130 businesses affected by COVID-19. Additionally, the city provided a loan deferral program to small businesses that have open business development loans with Denver, aiding 18 businesses. For housing support, a total of over $15 million in both CDBG CV and ESG CV funds have been earmarked for homelessness support, including shelter operations. And all of Denver's allocated HOPWA CV funds were provided to nonprofit partners to provide COVID-19 support for HOPWA eligible individuals and households. Specifically, HOPWA CV will provide hotel vouchers for 30 households who need to isolate due to COVID-19, provide 105 households with short-term rent, mortgage, and/or utility assistance, and provide supportive services, food, transportation, etc., for 254 households and individuals. During this time, the city's program staff has also worked with our partners as they quickly pivoted their services and restructured their programs to continue to provide services to our community. We greatly appreciate all of our partners' efforts during 2020 and currently as they continue to strive to provide the best services and products possible during these challenging times. Finally, please note that the programs and activities listed on this slide are only our HUD-funded programs and are not inclusive of the other substantial city investments made to support COVID-19 relief, such as the small business and nonprofit relief funds and the PPE program for businesses and nonprofits, which were carried out using other federal and local funds.
Next, we'll talk a little bit about the 2021 community survey that some of you might have seen in the invite. As stated earlier, we do extensive surveys and stakeholder interviews throughout the 5-year plan process. We have decided this year to initiate an annual community pulse survey, which will be a smaller, quick version for the community to provide current feedback year to year within the 5-year period. Each annual survey will help inform the current year's annual action plan. The survey asks for the community's input from different perspectives: residents, community partners, and small businesses. If you have not had the chance to complete the survey, please do so after the meeting. It will remain open until February 15th. Please also share with others in your community. The survey opened on Monday, January 25th, and so at this time we do not have enough survey results to share with you all. However, we will be updating our website once the survey closes with details about the survey results. So please make sure to check back after the 15th to see the results.
Available and upcoming resources. Each year, Denver offers different types of funding opportunities to community partners. Some are available on a rolling basis year-round, while others are limited in availability. This list shows the year-round opportunities available. If you are a community partner interested in one of these program areas, please access the appropriate link to find out more information and to contact appropriate Denver staff. As mentioned, Denver also offers limited funding opportunities as needed. Two common examples are the Housing Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, and the Neighborhoods NOFA. Currently, the Housing NOFA happens on a 3-year cycle, and the Neighborhoods NOFA happens on a 1 to 2 year cycle. However, these cycles may be extended or shortened depending on community need. Additionally, other RFPs or RFQs, requests for qualifications, may be published as needed throughout the year as well. If you are interested in receiving updates about these funding opportunities when offered by the city, please submit your name, organization, and email address to our marketing team at dedomarketing@denvergov.org to ensure you're on our distribution list. Finally, we understand that the HUD programs can be complicated and that the requirements to receive funding are rigorous. While we always have to ensure compliance with federal regulations when making funding decisions, please note that DEDO and host team members are always available to help answer your questions and provide technical assistance during the application process or during the administration of programs or projects.
For individuals and families looking for additional resources from the city and its partners, please review this list to access information under each program area. Now, before we transition to questions, a member of our business development team, Joanne Greek, would like to share some more specific information on business resources.
Thank you very much, Mariana. My name is Joanne Greek. I'm the Small Business Program Manager with Denver Economic Development and Opportunity. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us. And I'm just going to highlight a few of the programs that we have available that you may have already heard about earlier in the presentation. One is our Small Business Lending Program. This is a gap financing program for businesses that are starting up or expanding. And we also have business advisory services that are available, as well as a grant program that is available to advocates for small businesses within a certain geographic area. So if you are interested in exploring business improvement districts, this is an actual district that can be formed with your businesses in a certain geographic area. If you're interested in exploring that kind of concept and whether it would be feasible in your particular area, we have grants available for that. Or maybe if you're interested in just starting a merchant association within a geographic area, that would be a focal point and a resource and a sort of a coalescing thing so that you can serve and provide assistance to your businesses. We also have grants available for starting up that kind of a business resource. So thank you very much. We can certainly post information in the chat, in the Q&A, that will tell you more about our business assistance programs that we have available using the CDBG funds that we've been talking about. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne, for sharing with everyone. Now we will take some time to answer questions. If you would like to submit a question, please type it into the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. If you're using a mobile device, the Q&A icon appears on the top right-hand side. It looks like a chat bubble with a question mark in it. And I know some folks have already been putting questions in the Q&A, but we'll just, just a reminder that that is an option. So there is a question currently from an attendee asking if DEDO funded housing developments have a minimum amount. I'm not sure if somebody on our housing team would like to answer that question for folks.
I guess not clear on minimum amount of funding or units or.
So they have a follow-up question. Would DEDO be open to funding a multi-unit cooperative housing project, conversion of existing rentals into a permanently affordable co-op?
I mean, I think we'll look at every deal. We can certainly talk have more discussion about what the project may be, I can reach out to the questioner to discuss. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did clarify. So what is the funding range?
I mean, it depends on what we typically do is we fund a gap in financing. So we're not a primary funder. The expectation is that there are other funding sources and the city will come in to fund that last gap that needs to complete the project. So there's no minimum. The maximum is dependent on the project size and the area median incomes of residents being served. I think the largest is typically about $3 or $4 million, or maybe up to $5 million, depending on the other funding sources. So we have a large term sheet that's on our website that shows the different types of funding that we provide depending on the other funding sources.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Those were some good questions. Yeah, haven't seen any other ones come in right now.
Mariana, I did see Susan's note asking if we could address briefly what a proposal for HUD funding might need to contain. And truthfully, the answer to that depends on the type of program or project that you are applying for. If, for example, if we are in a NOFA, which is that notice of funding availability that we do once every few years, those RFPs are usually looking at programmatic services. So for those, we're looking for your program description, how many people you're going to be serving, what types of folks you'll be serving, and what types of services you'll be offering. We're also looking at your budget, what additional funds you might have already been able to secure for the program. And then for federal requirements, there are going to be a number of things that we require, and all of that would be listed in the application. But for example, your organization has to be registered with the federal government on a specific website, and we'll get your registration number in that application. We also require various insurances to be in place, and some for the services area, some basic environmental review will have to happen. Usually that doesn't impact it too much. And then on the project side, that's really where we see a lot of the HUD regulations apply as well. So again, part of that application process, you will be submitting all of those project details, budgets, etc. But we will also, there are certain projects that will trigger various federal regulations just to ensure things like pay wages, to ensure that we are hiring or attempting to hire from a certain pool of individuals for different contracting jobs. And again, based on the project, that can vary greatly. So it really just depends, and the best option is to reach out to the city to make sure that you're touching base with somebody on the staff here who can help walk you through those requirements.
Thanks, Susan, for putting that in the Q&A. That is quite the process to apply for HUD funding from the city. Haven't seen any new questions come in. Oh, and thanks, Rachel, for responding as well.
I do see a comment that that came in. The comment is that it takes more funds to construct 3 and 4 bedrooms. Denver is in dire need for more bedrooms and its affordable housing projects. Can CDBG prioritize funding projects with higher bedroom counts? I'm not sure if someone from the housing team wants to address that, but that's, you know, certainly a comment that the team will take and consider.
And I do want to point out that we do prioritize 3 and 4 bedroom units. So if a project comes in with an application that includes a large number of 3 and 4 bedroom units, we certainly would prioritize that for funding.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Rachel and Mariana, this is Victoria. Tara Olden has a question about the survey. Did you see that in the chat?
Yes, we will be addressing that on the next slide.
Okay.
Thank you. And then just to participants, we do have a number of program staff available. So if there is a specific program area that you have a question regarding, if that's homelessness resolution, or as you've been hearing, housing development, we also have neighborhood services. We have other folks from our business development team, along with Joey and Greek that you heard from. So we do have a number of folks available if there are additional questions outside of the HUD programs.
There is a new question about household makeup, and it states, I'm curious for purpose of thinking through AMI, if unrelated adults live together, do they count as a household? For instance, imagine a home with a couple with a child and 2 single people. Would they be 2 separate households?
For affordable housing purposes, I could just say hypothetically, it appears based on that general question that would be considered a household, assuming that they're all under the same lease and contributing to one house, one housing payment.
We do have another question for some of our housing team members. It asks whether 2B funds can be used to fund tiny homes development.
2B will be utilized for supportive housing. I don't know, and I can certainly follow up, but I don't know at this time if tiny homes are included. I think we're still identifying how the funding will be used between development and services. So I don't have a specific answer on that, but can certainly research and follow back up with the questioner.
Thank you. And I will make a quick clarification regarding the question on households. The response that was provided was from our housing team and our we wanted to make the clarification for neighborhood services that a household is counted as anyone in the same address over 18 years old, and they must declare their annual salary. And that's what is used to determine the household income for the neighborhood services. I'm not seeing any additional questions come in or any additional notes from our program team here. So Mariana, if we maybe want to progress just for some closing information, folks can continue to submit questions while we wrap up, and if we get one, we'll take a break and address it, but I'm not seeing anything else come in at this time.
Great, sounds good. So we just have a few reminders before we go. If you haven't already, please complete the annual pulse survey, and please feel free to share with your Denver community. The recording of this meeting and the PowerPoint will be made available on our website as well. Also, please make sure to keep in touch with us throughout the year, especially in the coming months as we prepare the CAPER and the annual action plan, to share your feedback and or to join us at our next public meeting where we will go over the details of our annual action plan. More information to come on that. Finally, thank you for your interest in Denver's HUD programs and for your attention during this presentation and for all the wonderful questions that you've asked. We shared a lot of information today, and just so you all know, there always exists a greater need than there are dollars available. Many of HUD's funding sources also come with a variety of restrictions on the types of activities we can fund and for how much. And you all heard about the application process and how cumbersome that can often be. But we hope that this has piqued your interest in how our city works with HUD funds, and we hope that we'll be hearing from you and working together to best serve Denver's residents, businesses, and neighborhoods. If you have any questions or comments about this presentation or any additional feedback or questions about HUD funds, please let us know by using the information listed on this slide to reach us by phone, email, or snail mail. And Rachel and I are more than happy to connect you with other staff to answer your questions as well. So please reach out to us. Again, thank you all for attending, and we hope that you have a wonderful afternoon and evening. And we'll stick around and see if there are any other questions that can be answered.
We did have an additional question pop up for us. When will the 2021 NOFA be released? The 2021 housing NOFA is already included with the NOFA that was released for 2020. So Those programs are selected on a 3-year basis at this point, unless otherwise needed, if there's an additional need that comes up. So the housing NOFA is already complete. That'll bring us through to the program year 2021 through 2022, and I believe 2023. For the neighborhoods NOFA, I believe, and I think we have Sylvia Smith online here, who is the program manager. I believe they anticipate to release a NOFA sometime in the summer of 2021 for the neighborhood services.
That is correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will probably be available for another, I'd say 5 minutes, and we'll end the presentation at 4:25 p.m. And we did want to make a quick addition to the information about the NOFA for 2021 for neighborhood services. We wanted to add that the information gathered here through these comments and through the survey responses will inform the focus of the 2021 NOFA as well for neighborhood services. I did want to make one additional clarification on the 2021 NOFA, or the question about 2021. A colleague reminded me that the 2021 neighborhood services will not be included in that NOFA. So we would actually be releasing a NOFA for 2022 services in the summer of 2021. So hopefully that makes sense, and I apologize for any confusion there. Okay, we are going to go ahead and close out the meeting. Thank you for all who attended and for the program staff for your support. And again, as Mariana indicated, please contact us with any questions. Thank you.